Yo, push one in the chat if you can hear me. All right. Thank you for the confirmation. Welcome back to the Black Brain Trust. This is a quick rant. I happened to be on MOTs earlier. Shout out to Man of Tomorrow and with Game Changer. Shout out to Game Changer. And they were having a discussion about, basically, I want to make sure I get the title right because I think MOT tends to change the title. The starter B philosophy. And what was brought up there by Game Changer was pretty interesting points that he was making, as well as Judge Zilla, complex design as well. I didn't get a chance to really go into detail about my point. I was actually working out, and I didn't have a whole lot of time, and I was out of breath at the time after hitting those reps. One of the things I find interesting is that, and this was brought up by MOT as well, that the value of Black male achievement is undervalued in the community, but male achievement outside the community by this very same demographic of women is seen as valuable, and it has a higher rating to it. And so what's been said in that discussion was about, game. Game has replaced productivity. This is very true. This is very true. What I find interesting is that these same people want to talk about building this new Black community, right? This sort of, non-patriarchal, progressive community, but there's really nothing progressive that comes out of these conversations with those people, male and female, and we've replaced Black male achievement with prison culture, okay? This sort of unproductivity, who has more tattoos, who has more swag, who has more game, who has all of these non-essential things that actually makes a society function. And when you really delve into it, you see that they really don't want things to change. They like things the way that they are, not because they're afraid of the future, so to speak, but this is the new norm, where women who go to college are allowed to brag about their successes and their material achievements and wealth and so on and so forth, whatever kind of car they drive, what kind of corporation they work for, what kind of title they have within the corporation, how much money they make, how independent they are. See, the independence part is always dependent upon you as the Black male, right? When Barack Obama ran for office, one of the most notable things they said about Barack Obama was that he worked for Michelle, okay? Well, he worked for Michelle because he was an intern under her, right? There's this sort of perspective about Black male achievement that either it's secondary to Black female achievement or its credibility is dependent on what she did for you. So the idea of Barack Obama was that he wouldn't be where he is right now without her. This is the sort of misinformation that keeps getting put out there and spun under this sort of toxic ideology that says that Black male achievement doesn't have any value. They make it seem as if he would not be in the White House if it wasn't for her. They don't know the history of Barack Obama because they don't care, okay? They don't care about that. Okay, this is a guy who came from Harvard. You don't get to Harvard just because, today's Tuesday. It doesn't work that way, right? You had to really work in order to maintain and be in those sort of places, in those sort of spaces. And so what I'm saying here is we've devalued black male achievement, and we've devalued black masculinity. We've reduced masculinity down to a costume, okay? You know, Tone Trump at one point, you know, before, a few years ago, he was the icon of masculinity, right? The tattoo on the face, the thick beard, the cold stares, the stoic look, right? The leather jackets and the hoodies and stuff like that. And, the throwing up the gang signs and stuff like that. That was considered to be masculine, right? That was considered to be masculine. Then you take into consideration post 2016 or whatnot, Nipsey Hussle became the icon, metaphorically, of black masculinity. He was this sort of really street guy. He wouldn't take no shit from anybody. He shoot the fair one. He had money, and and all of a sudden now Bitcoin becomes a new conversation to have, right? Because he invested into Bitcoin and stuff like that, but couldn't really speak of it. He opened up a store in a plaza, in Crenshaw or wherever it was that he was at. Suddenly, that sort of achievement becomes the prominent point of the conversation. Whereas Robert F. Smith, for all of his achievements, is null and void because of his partner, right? And so what we've done is we've devalued not just the masculinity, but his achievement. And we've created the game, and it's a Ponzi scheme. If you just buy into this, if you just buy into these this algorithm and these ideological features, right? The sort of if you build it, they will come sort of perspective. If you just had more game, if you just had a better mouthpiece, if you just did this, if you just did that, things would be better. That's a Ponzi scheme. Okay. There's a promise of a return with no actual return on investment at all. And so what I'm saying here is game only works in the black community. It doesn't work outside the black community, despite what anyone wants to say. When I went to Africa in February and March, I was in Kigali in February and I was in Joburg in March. I saw the real alpha males of the continent, okay? The real alpha males. The movers and shakers, okay? Highly educated, speak very well, speak multiple languages, speak French, speak English, okay? Some of them speak Swahili, okay? And they're very skilled in tech, and they're futurists, okay? They can articulate the future of the continent 10, 20, 30, 50 years from now, even up to 100 years. They can scale out what the continent is going to look like for melanated people. These are the alpha males over there, okay? Women flock to those type of men. If you're on stage and you're talking and you're in a panel discussion and you're doing your thing, women are looking at that, okay? All women are looking at that. And so there's value behind it, because what they see is someone who can provide for a family, and not just a family, but for a whole entire community. That's what they look at. But in the black community in America, what we've done is we've taken that same black male and we've compared him to pop culture. It's absurd, because no other group of people actually does this, right? No one ever, you don't see, I don't even know if I can think of another group, but other groups of women and other groups of people within their community don't look down on their upwardly mobile men. And so I always find it interesting that in our community, we do that. The slightest thing is enough. The slightest issue is enough to devalue whatever achievements this brother has and his masculinity. I remember in 2009, I think, 2009, 2010, Barack Obama was at the G20 or something like that, or the G8, okay? And he was meeting with Putin and a couple of, not Putin, he was meeting with his European counterparts or something like that. And there's a photo op of him with his legs, his leg was kind of crossed. And I remember a sister said that, he looks gay. And I said, what would make you say that? Well, he has his leg crossed. I said, what about the other European leaders in that photo? They have their leg crossed too. Oh, well, I'm not concerned about them. I'm only concerned about him. See, the optics is that Black masculinity has to be a caricature of The Wire. It has to be a caricature of poverty, that you must be struggling, you must be, in the streets doing unproductive things. And so even though that's the president of the United States at the time, it didn't matter, because how they saw him was that they did not see this sort of outwardly, overly exaggerated perspective of masculinity being exuded. Okay. They didn't see it. And so, because they don't know how to interpret that, once you reach that level of achievement in your upward mobility, all that street stuff and street scholarship and all that don't mean anything to anybody, man, outside the Black community. That doesn't mean anything. Well, what if he gets into a fight? This is the president of the United States. When you start getting into those type of positions, you don't worry about shooting fair ones with people and worried about getting carjacked and stuff like that. Who worries about things like that? But that's the mindset of people in the community, that you need to be able to get physical with anybody, because that's the response. The response is violence, right? That's how they're articulating masculinity. They articulate it through violence. And a lot of guys are also articulating it through game. You need to be able to communicate with these people, with dysfunctional people, in order to get access to their, to a womb that pretty much has no value anymore. And I just find this to be very troubling, because what kind of society are you trying to build, right? What kind of society are you trying to build with that sort of archetype? Because all the times that I do social justice work on the ground with different groups, I never see these guys that they seem to value the bad boy, right? I never see these guys who would game. I never see them at these events, at these sort of meetups and whatnot. I never see them. The guys who are about police reform, community policing and defunding the police, divestment from the police, and community projects such as like urban farming and stuff like that. I never see those guys there. And the women who seem to have so much esteem and value for these sort of guys who are in and out of the penal system and whatnot, they don't hold those guys to that same standard. And so we start talking about community, their perspective about community is always structured around men that they're not sexually attracted to and not respecting of, are supposed to uphold the total structure, the superstructure of the community itself, from physical brick and mortar institutions to the policy points, that they should be the ones to do it, and they should redistribute their wealth. But the guy who sells drugs, okay, the one who is involved in black market sort of economy, his money is not to be questioned. Okay, he could ride around in candy paint and big wheels and buy whatever sort of clothes, guys 40, 50 years old still dressing like this, 17, 18. Okay. He's allowed to do that. His masculinity is not to be questioned, and his authority or whatever his position is in black society is not to be questioned. Okay. But the brother who went to Morehouse, or the brother who went to a PWI, all of his achievements are null and void unless it serves the emotional interest and satisfaction of this person that needs game to deal with. Unproductivity has become the standard for Black males. You got Black men who they spend most of their days just doing nothing, man. A whole 24 hours just doing nothing. And no one questions it. I know women who work for the city of Boston and the state of Massachusetts, man, who some of them had PhDs, man, and had their houses raided by law enforcement, DEA and ATF and whatnot, for allowing these guys to turn their houses into stash houses. And no one questions it. Oh, we need police reform. Well, wait a second here. Police reform, I agree with, but police reform for you? Why? You chose to engage with unproductive men who allowed your house to be used as a trap house. And now that those same guys gotten you locked up, probably got your child taken away by CPS, Child Protective Services, you want to pretend now that the productive Black male should step up and do something. So productive Black men, upwardly mobile Black men, are now considered to be the plan B, okay? The plan B. So only his acknowledgement is only to be when it's, necessary for their functionality. But overall, the idea of building a legacy, the idea of building, generational wealth and stuff like that's not to be discussed when it comes to them. See, they've politicized their sexual interests. Okay. They've politicized their sexual interests and want to pretend that, yeah, you can build a Black society with all the fuckery baked into it. Try going to Rwanda and talking that stuff over there. Okay, I see what they do with people over there. They got dungeons for people. In Kenya, they kill drug dealers. Okay, the police kill drug dealers. They don't play games with them. You sell drugs, they put a bullet in your head. That's the end of it. Okay, same thing in Iran. In Iran, they do the same exact thing. They just kill the drug dealers. They don't care. Philippines, it's the same way. Okay, Duterte is already admitted on record he loves killing drug dealers. So all of these sort of ideas about masculinity for Black men has been turned on its head and been made the standard. And what the Black Brain Trust and many satellite contributors like MOT and Judge Zilla, Dr. Phoenix, and some of these other brothers who have contributed to the channel, they stand up against that and challenge that, right? And what's triggering these people is that they can't accept that there's an alternative to their perspective. Okay, they think Black men should only come in one format, and that's one that is sexually desirable to them. And the brothers who are unproductive are saying, yeah, if you just talk like this, if you just dress like this, you can have access to a womb that has been inseminated by the most unproductive men. And these are the people who are supposed to be the benchmark for masculinity. And we're supposed to aspire to this. Okay. We're supposed to aspire to this. And for what? For what? When I went to the continent in February and March, they're talking about getting away from paper money, food security, food sovereignty, national identification, global identification. Okay. Solidarity with other Black people around the world. Synergies, that's what the term was used, synergies. We should be creating more synergies between African Americans and those in the diaspora and on the continent. I don't see those same guys that the women consider to be alpha males here. They're not, I never see them at these sort of events. Okay, they put on a t-shirt that says Black Lives Matter, they go out there and they protest with a placard, and now all of a sudden he's an activist. just like that, instant. So his claim to fame now, he's an activist now. He's a street activist. But the brother who did exactly what he was supposed to do, his parents, his family invested into him to go to a private school, and and he ended up getting into a D1, D2, D3, D4 school. He does well. He ends up working corporate America, maybe for IBM, maybe for Bank of America, maybe for Fannie Mae, not Fannie Mae, Fidelity or something like that, one of these high-ranking companies. And he's looked down on as a cornball because he did not follow the pop culture standard of masculinity for Black men. But the brother who put on a T-shirt that says Black Lives Matter and RGB and whatever else pro-Black term they like to use, suddenly he's a he's equal to the brother who did what who had followed the straight and narrow. And so when I talk about like the politicization of their sexuality, right? They're politicizing their sexual interests. They're making it what makes them wet, what sexually interests them is made as a prominent political talking point for them. See, fuck all the building of generational wealth and handing things on and legacies and stuff like that. That doesn't matter. As long as they get what they want, that's all that matters. And how do you engage somebody like that? Well, you need game. And the manosphere is now filled with everyone who has game. Okay? The manosphere is filled with people who are trying to sell you a strategy to deal with a demographic of people who don't care about legacy, who don't care about generational wealth. How do you get generational wealth? Well, if you have assets, you gotta have assets. Okay, your grandparents, your parents, they hand down land and houses and things of that nature. I have a friend who's married to a Blanca, and her grandparents left her a cottage. Okay, I think that's like in Cape Cod or something like that. It's probably worth a lot more now than it was when they first bought it. So you're probably talking $500,000 for that cottage out there because of the land and everything else that goes with it. Now, my boy is actually, who's married to her, actually inherited some wealth from his grandparents, okay? They worked in the factories and they accumulated some money in the house that they bought. They passed away and they left it in his name. Okay, that house is probably worth $700,000 now. So you take her cottage that she inherited and his house that he inherited, now you're talking about $1.5 million in assets. Not including what's in their 401k, what's in their IRA. They have kids. You're talking about two families that have different economies coming together to create one big economy. That's how you create generational wealth. But when you hear these people talk, when you hear these women talk, they don't talk about that. What they talk about is, look at the way he walks with that limp. Look at how thick his beard is. Look at those tattoos on him. Okay? Look what kind of car he drives. Listen to that 16 he just spit. That's not even his, those aren't even his bars. He just kind of recited another rapper's bars and you thinking he wrote that. He didn't write that. He just sound real good when he say it, but he didn't write that. And so you're enamored by all of this, artificial, malformed masculinity. And that's enough for you to determine whether or not you'll have a baby with him. And you want the productive Black men to get on the front lines and give their life for a community that doesn't see any value in them. Make it make sense. Make it make sense. See, I always tell guys, you can always tell who a sister is based on who she follows on YouTube. Okay? Who she subscribed to. That will tell you everything you need to know about her. Okay? That will tell you everything you need to know about her. Who she subscribed to, whose channel is she following. There's a certain content creator in the manosphere, I won't mention his name. He said 70% of his subscriber base is of females. And because of that, that makes him an alpha male. This is the perception of alpha males, right? This is the perception that the more women that follow you, the better you are. That's not true, right? There's no way to prove that you can assert yourself in the dominant society by having women follow you. That doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. Can you make shit shake when your back is against the wall, when it's down to the wire? Well, just because a brother has money doesn't mean anything. Oh, that's interesting. But when you niggas got money, when y'all was out there riding around them Escalades in the 90s, and them Navigators, and them big wheels on there, and them gold chains and whatnot, money became the benchmark. You lame niggas, you ain't got no bread. That's why y'all niggas jealous. Now that the educated guys are upwardly mobile and they're making moves, now all of a sudden they're saying that money doesn't matter. It doesn't have any value now. See, this is the mentality in the community. This is the culture war that we're fighting. They're changing the rules to suit them. So you never really know what the benchmark is. Now the benchmark now is even coming from both sides, right? Women are saying that you're just mad because you don't get no pussy. So now the onus of promiscuity is now being put on Black males by the women. The brothers are saying you're just mad because you don't have any game, so you don't have the strategy to actually engage these women. Nothing about legacy building, nothing about generational wealth, nothing about, productivity or anything like that. It's always about this sort of fanciful idea that this womb of this woman, you're just mad because you don't have access to it, but in reality, it has no value because the most unproductive Black male who brings zero to the table has access to it. What value could it possibly serve to a brother who's at the peak of his achievement? What value does that really serve? How can you build a society with people who don't see the necessity in food security and food sovereignty? How can you build a society with people who say, you might be right, but I could whoop your ass? Or can you whoop my ass? See, violence has replaced productivity, man. Violence, criminality. You mad because you ain't got it like me? You ain't grinding as hard as me? I'll be in a trap all day. But when you watch shows like The First 48, you see these guys put their head on the table, depressed, defeated, call my lawyer, call my mother. These are alpha males? These are the alpha males. These are the guys who are supposed to be the benchmark of masculinity in the Black community. And these guys are sitting on tape, ratting on other Black men in the sort of mischief that they get into. And these women on YouTube and in manosphere are saying, yeah, I like the bad boy. I like those kind of guys. Okay? And you're supposed to aspire to be that through game. Outside of the Black community, this does not work. When I was on the continent, I had this conversation over there with some women, and they said the thug, the unproductive African male, is considered to be the incel. He has to sexually harass women and potentially rape women in order to get sex from them. Whereas the upperly mobile productive African male is highly sought after. Okay, not just by African women, but by European women, highly sought after. Especially if he speaks English. If his English is of on par with hers, highly sought after. You could throw in athletics as well, but you know, most of them don't play sports like that. And they only have about 2 sports over there. I think it's just football and cricket. But to that point, sports does not trump academic achievement. All these people who trying to sell game, these guys are having big live streams about, man, let's talk about, man, you know, does game work on, you know, 92 octane women? What kind of fucking conversations are you niggas having, man? You really think I'm gonna spend 3-4 hours sitting on a live stream talking about that? But that's what I'm talking about, the unproductivity of a lot of these guys out here. They don't care about the community as a whole. It's just a nice talking point. It sounds good. Okay, it sounds really good, and it gets women's attention because they say, oh, he's about the community, and community means Black woman, so therefore I'm being, you know, spoken for by these sort of unproductive men. You always see these guys that run around with these unk pieces for chains and stuff like that, and you know, they always got the fist up in their avatar, and you know, the RGB colors, and you know, they're always changing their name to something, you know, Afrocentric or something like that. These guys are frauds, man. They're basically pro-Black drag queens. They got all the makeup on, you know, the tattoos and stuff like that, man, and the thick beard. That's who these guys are. Pro-Black drag queens. They're in cosplay. They're in cosplay. They always got some kind of book to sell. They're always trying to, you know, sell you game. You got guys coming around here talking about space doesn't exist. You never hear anything about fourth industrialization talk with these guys. They always talk about the here and now. Man, I don't see no point in voting, man, because no matter which one you vote for, man, it's just the lesser of 2 evils. But these are supposed to be alpha males. Okay. You know, a lot of those guys, I remember back in the 90s, a lot of those guys were using those educated Black women for their credit. You get 4 credit cards. You have 4 networks. You have Master, Visa, American Express, and Discover. Okay, 4 networks. A lot of these women had access to these credit cards because of, you know, they're young and they have, you know, a fresh credit score. And a lot of them got played. Okay. They supported a lot of these dope boys out there. They helped these guys put money down on trucks and stuff like that. They finance and finance a lot of these guys' lifestyles, and they call that game. That you finesse this woman out of her, you know, out of her finances. You finessed her out of her house. Okay, you use her house as a trap house. Use the dormitory as a trap house. Okay, we already talked about the Black woman on Harvard, who brought the dope boy on campus, he ended up killing somebody, and they kicked her ass up out of school when they found out who she was dealing with. Okay. See, they don't tell you those nice Infinities that these guys drive, you know, in the hood. They don't tell you that you don't, all you need is a cosigner. Guess who cosigns for those vehicles, man? All you need is a 580 credit score. You can get those vehicles, man. You can go to the auction and finance a vehicle from the auction now. You put down $3,000, you can get that. And so they look like they're balling, but they're not. They one payment away from being repoed. The money that they use from, you know, this chick and her kids, come tax season, he claims those chick, you know, somebody claims those kids on their taxes, and they take that money and they put it down in the car. Now they out there with that Infinity, you know, shiny wheels on it, big exhaust. And they look like they're balling, and they say, yo, you just don't know the game. And it's like, nigga, what are you talking about? What are you talking about, man? You got to get it how I live. Nah, man, that doesn't make any sense to me. What's the return on investment? Man, you don't know, man. And now these chicks, man, they got, you know, access to Instagram, and they got these little ads on Instagram where they go out to like Fashion Nova and, you know, whatever these online stores are. They buy these little dresses and whatnot, and, you know, they got the shape, but their stomach is right over their belt line, man. Stomach is bigger than their butt. And they think they're doing something major. You can buy weaves and wigs and stuff like that. Now, this is the Black community as a nutshell, man. This is it. Game. Unproductivity. And they want you to get on board with them. These people don't even know where their next meal is coming from. Food sovereignty, food security. Are we even having those conversations? Social equity, the legalization of cannabis. How invested are we into this? How much knowledge do we have about this? We're not even having those conversations, man. Oh, nah, me, man. I don't need to know about social equity, man. I smoke whenever I want to. This is the mindset of these Negroes, man. Man, I'm a real capitalist, man. How you a real capitalist? You don't own the means of production, man. If you got game, if you're talking about using game to finesse women out of their monies and whatnot, how is that? How are you a capitalist? What are you capitalizing off of? What production, what land do you own? What production do you own? And we're supposed to be aspiring to be these guys. Give me 1 second. All right, I'm back. You know, we don't know what to do with Black masculinity. We just see it as a prop within the community itself. Construct it may be, but it still needs to be applicable to the greater society, man. Society is bigger than the block that you're on and the little bodega that you shop at, man. And bigger than the old 7 series from 05, 06 that Rick Ross was pushing. And y'all think y'all big now. Okay, you bought that 7 series at the auction for dirt cheap. There's a reason why it's dirt cheap, man. It doesn't have any value. It lost all its value. It lost 80% of its value in 7 years. How is that a come up? Okay. That's the thing that blows my mind, man. It's a Ponzi scheme. They want you to buy into this. And they want you to get down with the get down. And see, we push back against all of this. That's why we had the sapiosexual series. Go subscribe to Complex Design. He's been doing an excellent job on the sapiosexual series. Okay. We've talked about this in depth, that sapiosexual women don't value these things. Okay, they don't value it. On the continent, I met many of them, and they're beautiful. Okay, they are beautiful sisters over there, man. Clean skin, hair locked up and stuff like that, man. I posted pictures of this on the community tab. If you come over there trying to run game, see, the thing is this. Over there, they take things serious. So if they come home with an unproductive dude to the family, that's seen as a bad look. You can get ostracized from your family for bringing home an unproductive man. So if you get pregnant by him and he can't bring anything to the table, what was the point of getting with him? That's how they see it. Here, it's seen as a rite of passage. It's seen as a rite of passage. And so what kind of generational wealth are you going to build? What kind of legacy are you going to pass on? Man, I just got to pass my seed on, fam. I just got to do that, man. I'm just trying to live for today. Really get into it, you start to find out that a lot of these guys don't have a game plan, man. Back-to-back Lucy's being smoked. Their health is in question. Okay. Receding hairlines and all that, you know. Unproductive black men using strategy to engage dysfunctional women. And if you're not getting it like how they do, you're a bad person now. Make it make sense, man. Make it make sense. I mean, think about this for a second. A dude who doesn't have anything going for himself, got a thick beard, couple of tattoos, walk with a limp, okay? He speaks street slang. Now I mean, fuck this, fuck, right? Nothing wrong with that. You know, sometimes I'll get into a little street slang myself. But that becomes the default position of said male, and said women are saying he's the alpha based on the fact that they're sexually attracted to him. Okay, I've seen this. I see it in the manosphere all the time. Bad boy this, swag that. Right? It's 2020, we're still having these conversations. You got a looming economy happening right now where we may be in a recession until 2025. People being evicted after August 1st. Homelessness in the Black community, people not having any place to go, electricity being cut off. Okay. And these people want to have a conversation about game. You need this to get with her. What the hell is she bringing to the table? If her womb can be inseminated or cream pied by the most unproductive male, what value does it serve? What value does it serve? Well, you just mad because you can't get it. But if you buy my book, this is how you can get it. If you just super chat me and cash at me, I'll tell you how to get it. You know, the shadow world, right? You know, these guys who make moves and stuff. And like I said before, I do a lot of social justice work on the ground. I'm not seeing these guys at these events. I'm not seeing them. And I travel all around to go to these events. So I'm not talking about Black Lives Matter. I'm not talking about that. It's about real land acquisition, you know, farming and urban farming and stuff like that. I don't see these guys there. And so when you have young Black males between the ages of, 12 to 18, 12 to 19, who are going through puberty, they're looking at this and they're saying, well, why should I go to college and why should I go out and be this high performing Negro if these unproductive Black males have access to all the women? What's the value of it? Man, you just we got to save the community, man. Man, if we don't save the community, we're going to be wiped out, man. So to save the community, you got to use game. And in order to use game, you got to be like them. I can't afford to be like you. I probably read about 35 articles a day before we even go live, because I have to vet the article in order to determine whether or not this is something that needs to make the docket. I spend a lot of time being productive on top of the fact that I'm working. On top of the fact that I worked out this morning. You want me to get on your level while you drink cough syrup and pop pills, man. No, I'm not, I don't see the value in that, man. You never see sisters promote upwardly mobile brothers. They just don't do it because they don't see the value in his masculinity. They don't see it. If you don't see the value in his masculinity, what kind of society are you trying to build? What's the value in it? I was watching a panel discussion the other day. I won't say whose panel it was because I don't want to blow up their spot. And one of the sisters said, well, I feel like we're not being taken serious. As Black women, we're not taken seriously. Well, guys are going to take you seriously if this is the stuff that you're talking about. When they describe their archetype of a Black male, it's always sexual. They have politicized their sexual interest. They've made that a ballot point that Black men need to pander to their sexual interest. And if you don't campaign, which is run game, if you don't campaign to their political interest, which is their sexual satisfaction, their sexual perspective, they have a problem with it. That's enough to determine whether or not she supports you or not. And I'm not talking about financial support, I'm talking about social support, right? You cannot have a Silicon Valley without social support on the ground. Silicon Valley came out of the garages of these Muzungas. It came out of the garages of Muzungas. Steve Jobs, Steve Wozniak created Apple out of their garage. The most powerful computer company right now on the planet came out of a garage. The most powerful social media company to rule the planet right now came out of a dormitory. It didn't come out of the hood. Okay, it didn't come out of the incubators of a trap house. And you have women who support this on YouTube, in the manosphere. They support this type of stuff. And they say, well, I just can't help myself. That's just what I like. That's a reflection of who you are as a person and your character. It's a reflection. But you don't want to accept that, though. You want to push this idea that brothers just want non-Black women because they hate themselves. But you want unproductive men because it's natural. Make it make sense. Make it make sense. Got guys riding around in old ass Range Rovers with you know, the front end down into the ground. That's because they're too cheap to change out the shocks. The airbags on it. Them airbags is expensive, man. They cost like $3,500 a piece. You got to replace all those. You can't just replace one. You got to replace all four. Nah, I ain't going to do it. No, I ain't going to do it. Too cheap to do it. But they balling though. They got the Range Rover. And chicks be, you know, on Instagram and social media talking about, oh, my man pushed the range. Yeah, he pushed the range, but that shit about to go right into the ground. Oh, my man pushed the 7. Yeah, and it's always in the shop because it has to have transmission maintenance done to it. That transmission is like a $4,000 job, man. Them dudes ain't got $4,000 to put into that transmission. They just drive that thing into the ground. And these are the people who are telling you that you should care about the community after what they've just done. You got women being evicted out of their houses and their rent is $10 a month. How is that possible? All this foot traffic in and out of your house. Floor is not even mopped up. Shit's still, trash not taken out. But you going to Atlantic City to gamble because you don't got your stimulus money. And you want upwardly mobile Black men to compete for that. Make it make sense. Make it make sense, man. Guys riding around them new Dodge Chargers, man, SRTs, with the fake red eyes on the front of it. They done got from the stereo shop and in the hood. Playing drill music. And you see the chick in the passenger seat, the Black woman in the passenger seat, with a weave blowing in the wind. And they saying, brother, you jealous. You jealous of that. How can this be? Make it make sense, man. That car is one payment, one payment away from being repoed. See, these guys don't tell you that the house that they got together came from the fact that she is considered a minority within the system, man. And so she gets offered certain incentives through affirmative action and through feminism. And these guys are latching on to that. So all she has to do is put 1% down on a house and she gets it. Okay. And then he comes in, he lives with her, eats up all her zebra cakes and drinks up her Capri Suns for her kids. And they live happily ever after. This is the sort of lifestyle that Black men should be aspiring to? Really? The fuck is this? No talk about political action, no policy talk. Yeah, you got a big screen TV. That's because Aaron's and Rent-A-Center got it for you. You paying monthly on that TV. Oh man, we just eating good, man. I used to talk to this one sister, man. I went out on one date with her, and that was it. She had very pretty dark skinned sister. The weave and everything was done. Had the big Infinity M series or whatever it was, M37, M45, whatever it was. We went to her house and the house was empty. Okay, it wasn't just because she just moved there. She just didn't have any money. She was broke. And how she ate was she went on dates, dinner dates. That's how she ate. That's how she lived. Or somebody ordered her some, Uber Eats or something, and that's how she lived, man. Fast food every night. But they want you to aspire to get with that. Here you have a Black woman with a bachelor's degree in criminal justice and can't find a job in her area of expertise, so to speak. Upwardly mobile Black men need to aspire to have more game. Okay. That's what they're saying. This stuff really blows my mind, man. This stuff really blows my mind. I just think that, a lot of these people really don't want change in the community. They like things the way that it is. They like the poverty. They like all the trash on the ground. There was a sister that came here from Chicago. Okay. She came to Boston from Chicago, and she was like, "Where's the hoods at? Where's the hoods at?" Because what she was looking for was the street guys. She was looking for the street guys. What she doesn't realize is that we don't have hoods. Okay, we have mixed environments. Okay, mixed income environments, meaning that they've taken middle class people and lower income people and mixed them in these areas. Okay, so they break down the ghettos. Okay? They broke down the ghettos probably about 20 years ago. Okay. That doesn't exist here. We don't have, abandoned buildings with people shooting up and all this other stuff. We don't have those sort of issues here. And she was looking for this, and she was, she was like, well, where's all the, the niggas at? Niggas can't stand outside during school time, man. You're in a school zone, you got to get up out of there. Police gonna remove you. Can't be out there with little girls walking back and forth, man. You ain't doing nothing with your life, man. Get up out of here. Oh man, police just be hating on people. We need to reform. Nah, man. Get off the block. Go find something to do. Oh man, you just gotta, you know what I'm saying? You just gotta spit game, man. What's the game? The game is the game, man. The game is to be sold, not to be told. That's what they tell us, man. And you should be aspiring to be like them. You should be aspiring to be like these people, man. Your masculinity is predicated off of criminality, violence, and unproductivity. Try taking that to any part outside of the Black community. Try taking that to Silicon Valley, man. See how far that's going to get you. One of the things about the STEM industry is that it's very much a meritocracy-based industry in society. I'll bet the racism, it's a meritocracy-based society. So meaning whoever can write the code the best is the one who gets the job. At least that, in theory, that's what happens, okay? You got people in the community who are saying if you just had more game, that should work just fine, man. If you just open up a garage sale, that should be just fine. Yo, there's a lot of females out here that don't wash up, man. They just don't wash up. They're so used to dealing with niggas who don't demand much from them. As long as they're walking and got a warm hole in a heartbeat, man, that's good enough for them. That's why you see a lot of plus size women, they focus on here, right? The here. A chick can be a size 20, a size 18, a size 20, but as long as that weave is blowing, man, because she knows that these game niggas are gonna try to step to her, man. That's because that's the bare minimum, man. Chicks walking around in the summertime with flip flops and ankle socks on because they're scared to show their feet. And you want high performing, upwardly mobile brothers to chase that? For real? Oh man, if you don't want that, man, you gay. Everything is gay now, right? Everything. You vote Democrat, you're gay. You ain't got game, you're gay. You go to college, you're gay. You a passport bro, you're gay. Everything is gay now. We've taken this term and we've extrapolated it to mean anybody who's not pop culture is considered to be a homosexual, man. What fucking world are you living in, man? What world do you live in? You got women in the community who are cross-dressing as men. These women are going as far as to put gold tees and stuff on their face, man. This sort of fake hair. Go look it up on YouTube. Women with fake gold tees and shit on now. 5 o'clock shadows. Drag queen cross-dressing as men. And niggas are okay with that. They be smoking weed with them and everything. And these chicks actually think that they're men. Their pants are sagging and, they always got men's sneakers on and boxers and shit. This shit is bizarro world, man. And niggas just be chilling with them like it's all good. And I'm like, yo, dog, I got better things to do with my life, man. Got better things to do with my life, man. I'd rather spend $4,000 flying business class to Kenya, to Nairobi, and chilling with some highly technical people out there on the continent than to be sitting around with a bunch of dudes talking about game, man. There's no way in the world you're going to get me to commit to that. Guys running around with Range Rovers that are 200,000, 100,000 miles and shocks blown out, brakes need to be changed, squeaking and whatnot, oil change need, check engine lights on. And these guys are telling you need to get it like them. Old ass niggas in their 40s running around with Louis Vuitton belts and True Religion jeans and chilling with Jordans on and all types of designer colors on. You need to get like me. Or you want them college educated niggas. So no, guys who work for IBM and Microsoft are considered to be sellouts, man. But what's really a sellout? A sellout is someone who compromised on their own integrity and the integrity of the community to get ahead. You got guys on the first 48 snitching on everybody, and yet he's not considered to be a sellout. He's considered to be a real nigga. Make it make sense. Man, if we just, if black men just can work together, not with you, reptile, not with you. And I'm not even so much as mad at the brothers. I'm mad at the women who support these guys. These guys, it's amazing some of the stuff I see, man, here, just locally, just some of the stuff I see. I thought it was only allocated to here, but when I got to Atlanta, the shit was outrageous. What was going on there? The shit was outrageous. I'm like, how is it possible that you're an educated woman and this is the type of dude you deal with? How is that possible? Well, they just be having that good D. So you're telling me that the benchmark for black men is his sexuality, his ability to perform sexually for you. Well, I'm trying to get him a job at, Trader Joe's, bagging groceries. At least he's working. Why don't you get one of these productive brothers? Oh, I see what the deal is here. Productive brother doesn't have the charisma that you're looking for. And that charisma is paramount to your life choices. And what you want is Travis Scott to start talking about blockchain and geopolitics, man. And transhumanism and the Big Bang Theory. That's what you want. You want Travis Scott to talk about Python coding and data science. Okay? And start talking about the stock market and whether or not gold is up, gold is down. That's what you want. You want this sort of Frankenstein Negro who has all of the pop culture looks, but has all of the wisdom and knowledge of Robert F. Smith, man. Or Kenneth Frazier. Shout out to Kenneth Frazier, CEO of Merck. The purpose of you getting a degree as a woman was to elevate yourself into a position that would actually empower your people, man. It's supposed to open up opportunities. When I was younger in the 90s, I remember going down to Hampton University, man. It was no shortage of women chasing dope boys, man. Women chasing dope boys. It was no shortage of that, man. Spelman, no shortage of that. Chicks ended up pregnant on campus by niggas who themselves can't read. And these were the nerdy girls. I'm not talking about chicks who came from the projects, man. I'm not talking about that. I'm not talking about low income, undereducated women. I'm talking about educated women who had access to all the opportunities that most women in third world countries will never have, squandered their opportunities away for Troy Ave dick. And then want to sit up here and say, if black men just got themselves together, who are you talking about, man? Who are you talking about here? I remember one of the campuses, man, I won't mention which one, but they had to shut down. They had to do a contact tracing to figure out where the STD was coming from. Okay, it was coming from dudes off campus. Okay, they was running up in all the girls in the dormitories, and they were infecting them with all types of STDs. They couldn't understand where it was coming from. And some of the girls were blaming the guys on campus. In reality, it wasn't the guys on campus. It was actually the dudes they were dealing with off campus. Okay, a lot of girls dropped out of school because they got pregnant. And now I see these same women working for the government, city, state, and federal, and you would never know what they did in their past. You would never know that. You would never know she was toting all those guns for this guy and holding all those drugs for him. Living off the taxpayers' dime. Okay. Full scholarship to Rutgers University, but yet you choose to date down. You go to her cubicle at work, and all she has pictures of her and her son or her daughter, but you never see the nigga in the pictures because she's so ashamed of the type of past that she has. And you want upwardly mobile brothers to come in and wife these chicks up. Nigga, you out of your mind, man. Well, you're out of your mind. Man, they just want these white chicks in the office, man, because those white chicks, they just let them walk all over them. Right, because the idea here is that your masculinity needs to be challenged as a Black man. It needs to be challenged. It needs to be corrected. You see, the idea of calling a Black man gay now in this day and age is to emasculate him, man. It's to emasculate him. It's to buck break him. Break him down. All his achievements don't mean anything to her. But if he just had game, he wouldn't have to worry about that, right? So sometimes you walk through these neighborhoods and you can't understand. You can tell the difference between people who own versus people who rent. Loud music, kids running around, trash not taken out, front of the house is all dirty. Okay, people who own take care of their property because they invest into it. And all that foot traffic between, upstairs and downstairs, niggas dropping off bags of weed and whatever else they indulge on, and that's considered to be game. Yeah, a lot of guys with game have problems. A lot of them can't read. They can't even fill out a job application, man. They don't have a LinkedIn. They don't have anything. Yo, can you read my horoscope for me? Yeah, that's the extent of a guy with game. Okay. They go through some of these nonprofit programs, and they end up getting a job at like AutoZone or Advanced Auto Parts, or some kind of courier service. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that, man. But they're leveraging strategies to continuously engage women, man. It's never about being on their purpose as a man. It's never about that. And they want you to aspire to be that. I went my whole entire undergrad, time without dealing with women like that, man. And nothing good comes from that, man. Nothing good comes from that. So, not for nothing, the black man's masculinity has just been put, it's fragile, meaning that if it's mishandled, it can fall apart. And the people who are supposed to be the handlers of this the custodians of this, are clumsy. And I think it's high time that we, on this side of the fence, draw a line in the sand and say, we have a red line, man. I'm not doing live streams with people who want to talk game. You're not going to get me to go over there and talk game. Okay? I'm not buying your book. I'm not doing any of that stuff, man. One of the responses that you hear from these sort of game guys is, well, yeah, that's nice that you know about it's nice that you know about fourth industrial technology and stuff like that, but how many bitches you got, right? How many bitches you got? Sexual access to Black women has now become a part of the archetype of Black men. You got two pump chumps running around pretending to be alpha males, man. I find that to be interesting, man. I myself don't consider myself an alpha male. I just think that it's hilarious to see these guys talk the way they talk. Not so much as just in the manosphere, because I see this on the ground too. You usually see this stuff, if you go to the calisthenics bars. One of the routines that I do when I warm up, man, I always stretch and I always warm up, man. And it looks like a little bit of yoga mixed with mobility. And guys be looking at me like, yo, what's up with this cat? And I'm saying to myself, like, I'm not touching no bars, man. I'm not moving no heavy weight until I get my body right. My body got to be right. I gotta stretch my lats. I gotta stretch my quads and my hamstrings and stuff like that, man. Got to work on my ankle mobility for deadlifts and box jumps and stuff like that. I'm prepping my body so that I can get into the routine. These guys put their cigarette down, hop up on the bar, man, and look crazy. If you injure your C2, C3 disc, you can be finished for the rest of your life, man. You can be finished for the rest of your life. There's a difference between how educated brothers move versus undereducated brothers move. College isn't everything. Not saying that. Not saying that college is everything. I'm just saying there's a school of thought that upwardly mobile brothers have that other non-productive brothers just don't have. They don't have the foresight to see what's coming down the pike. So it's okay as a Black man, at least I'm saying this, it's okay to practice abstinence. It's okay. You don't have to bag every single chick, man, in order for your masculinity to be approved in this community. You don't have to. Most of these chicks that these guys are getting, man, would be considered low on the totem pole when compared to women outside the community. If I can only do one female per presidential cycle who is of quality versus not, then I'll set my fate with that, man. I'll accept my fate with that. I'm not accepting what these guys are saying as, you know, if you just have more game. If you just bought into this Ponzi scheme, like the, you know, like the Publishers Clearinghouse, you know, the Publishers Clearinghouse. If you just signed up and you just got in with that, man, you'd be good. But you know, I don't want to waste too much time because I got other things I need to do. So shout out to everyone who showed up and hit the like button, man, and make sure you hit that notification bell. Make sure y'all subscribe to Complex Design. He does his sapiosexual series over there. He should have at least 1,000 subscribers by now. Okay. He has open panels. You can engage with him after hours. Anyways, peace and shalom to everyone, man.